Rugby's back in Devon, back down the Brickfields. Scrummy Paul was there. Lots to talk about. Let's get down to business. Welcome to another episode of It's Always Scrummy in Plymouth. If you managed to make it through last week's episode, sorry for the poor sound quality. It feels like a long time since I've done this, even though I did last week's episode. I wasn't at the game. I had my friend Ed who gave some brilliant input. My bad with the poor sound quality. That's, maybe next time I won't do an interview with one of my friends at like midnight in a London pub. That possibly wasn't a great idea for great sound quality, but big shout out to Ed for that. Scrummy Ed, maybe some people might be calling him. We're going to be talking about the actual Albion's big return to the Brickfields, big win against Dings. We'll be, as usual, talking about the fixtures all crashing across National 1. There's a big game at the top of the league between Rotherham Titans and Rosslyn Park. How the league table has been affected, future fixtures, fans, news. We're talking all things Scrummy Paul, and usually we finish with a feature from Livy, but she's unavailable for that today. So I'll be finishing off with a little bit of a fun feature. So lots to come up. If you haven't already, please subscribe on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Spread the word about this. Share on your socials, share in the workplace, tell all your friends about this, but also good positive quote reviews. So 5-star review on Spotify would be much appreciated. Thanks, guys. Let's get talking. Big home victory then for Plymouth Albion. 64 points to 17 against Dings. 10 tries. 10 tries. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I really don't like Dings. I haven't forgiven them after last year's antics of basically sticking the entire Bristol team out and, Pat Lamb being there. He's totally entitled to go to a game, but that really sort of sets us up to have a bit of a big uphill battle last season. So for me, it's always nice to get one over these guys. The team for the game, we had just a couple of changes. So actually last week, so I listened back to the podcast, I forgot to feature the team. So actually, looking at the Rosslyn Park team, it was interesting that the two brand new additions to the squad, the two ex-Chief lads, Louis Gully and Oscar Beckerleg, came straight in at hooker and second row. And they were the only two changes for the game at Rosslyn Park. But those guys made a fantastic impact off the bench against Leicester. So interesting they came in. Changes for this game against Dings then. So both those guys were out of the team. Oscar Beckerleg onto the bench, and Joel Broadhurst came back into the team. Harry Wilkinson came back in a hooker. And then the big one was that Ewan Jenkins came in at fly half for Harry Legg. Some big changes there. And on the bench, we had the Devon Dupont, George Hilson, so it was interesting to see him back in the squad. And then Rhys Williams, hooker from last season, who's been away at the Navy, fantastic player for us last season. Great to have him back. So yeah, looking closer at the game, it was really the definition of a game of two halves. So really close at half time. Yeah, Dings just kind of played this game where they really affected us at the breakdown, and the ref just kind of kept stopping the game all the time. Referee was getting a lot of the stick from the home fans. The 1,881 in attendance home fans, might I add, as well. But yeah, we just couldn't get the game going. Dings, I thought, had a few decent backs who really shook us up a little bit, sort of made a few breaks, but just a couple sort of soft tries. Conceded fairly early on, which we don't really want to get into a habit to. We conceded early on against Rosslyn Park as well. When it came into the second half, things just completely changed. Gave away too many cheap penalties in the first half, but second half performance was really absolutely faultless. They again scored the first try in the second half. Dings, really controversial. So a crossfield kick, but we had Shay Cornish down injured from what I thought looked like a high tackle, and there was also 4 passes in the build up to it. Referee, who was really keen just to keep stopping the game all the time, on this occasion felt like, do you know what, just keep going. Albion have got someone down, Dings got an unfair advantage, but I'll continue and just let you guys concede a try, which seemed really, really poor officiating there, really. But as I said, the second half, tries galore from all over the place. It was an absolutely stunning performance. And there was a few changes at half-time. One of those, well, not at half-time, but there was a change in the second half. And one of those was Harry Legg came on in the centres, came in at 12. And it's no surprise really for me there that that's when things really start to take off. And it's got me really questioning, really. I think Harry Legg's an absolutely fantastic player. I think he's one of our best players. But in my opinion, actually, I don't see him as our fly half. So I thought it was a really interesting choice to have Ewan Jenkins come and fly half. I thought he had a really good performance. He looked like a fly half. We have this kind of debate in English rugby, really, especially at the moment, where if you like George Ford, Owen Farrell, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith. And English fans have this kind of old-fashioned view of what fly half should be like. Can't really be eccentric. And to a certain extent, got to be kind of dull. You know, make your kicks and kind of run the things. But I thought Ewan Jenkins just did those things right. I thought he was like the kind of the battery. His kicking was good. He just linked up really well. And I felt actually Harry Legg being a fly half, he could have more of an impact and make things actually happen a little bit wider in dangerous places. Harry Legg, in my opinion, is kind of like a Matt Gitto type player. He can play fly half, but I just like him. I think he getting more on the ball wider, doing a few more things himself rather than being that battery, that engine for the rest of the team, which he can do a fantastic job of. But it'd be really interesting moving forward to see what dynamics Ryan Lamb picks of who is going to play fly half, inside centre, outside centre kind of thing. What combinations? I hope we don't fall into the trap of moving our fly halves or rotating, because I think actually we have Jack Alton at scrum half, and I want to see a consistent 9-10 combo. But I think really interesting moving forward there. Where's Harry going to fit in the team? Because ultimately he came off the bench against tired legs, but things happened, and that is no coincidence. He came off the bench and things were happening because he's an outstanding player. But where would he fit into the team? Another outstanding performance, really, to mention goes to Frankie Dart, who's very quickly turning into my favourite player for Plymouth Albion. And I say that, and he's really grown on me because actually last year I don't know where he fitted, but he's come into the team. 15's back his shirt now, and that he has made that his position. He is scoring tries regularly. His running game is looking absolutely outstanding. His kicking game, his kicking from the tee, is just second to none. But this season, on a couple of occasions, I remember it was Bishop Stortford away in the second half. He received the ball on our try line, and I thought, okay, cool, he's going to kick it, and he actually ran it out. And I was thinking, oh my days, what is he doing? But it turned out to be the right decision. We sort of broke away, made way past her in the halfway line, and he's done that on a couple of occasions, and it's made me think, wow, watching the highlights on YouTube of the Rosston Park game, he scored the try, and he broke several tackles. Like, I thought, ooh, wow, okay, he is really strong. He's a strong, powerful runner as well. And it happened again. And I was sort of sat and I was with my friend. I said, wow, he's a really strong runner. Like, he breaks tackles. So I'm looking at the bigger picture now. Again, Frankie, he kicks really well. He kicks his goals really well. He's running with confidence. He runs the space. He's technically really good, and he's breaking tackles. And like, wow, I think we're at a point now where other clubs must be looking at him. Other teams must be looking, because he's playing absolutely outstanding. But saying all this, he does not get the Always Scrummy and Plymouth Man of the match. Because, here on Always Scrummy and Plymouth, it's not always about who's the best player. But second half, big second row, Oscar Beckler comes off the bench, picks up the ball in the relatively wide channel, absolutely fakes at the first one, pumps again, puts Shay Cornish in the corner. See now, second row doing a double pump pass. That is what I like to see. Rob Baxter, are you watching me? Double pump, boof, boof, in the corner. That is what I like to see my second rows do, and that is what it's all about. The confidence for the young man to be doing that. Absolutely brilliant. Welcome to the Brickfields. Pleasure to have you on board. So yes, an absolutely outstanding result for Plymouth Albion. Absolutely buzzing. National 1 results then. Some big one particularly big game coming up. But first one here, Blackheath 40, Tonbridge 0. Being nilled. Wow. So Tonbridge, I did sort of say they were going to be a top team, but they're looking a bit hot and cold. But that is a really poor result. 6 tries from Blackheath again. They're looking really strong this season. So what a performance there from them. Next game, Leeds Tykes 27, Clifton 24. So, like a sort of basement battle there, but yeah, really going down to the wire. Plymouth Albion 64, Dings 17, Rams 31, Birmingham Moseley 28. So really, really tight game there. Both of the teams getting 4 tries. So Birmingham will be getting a losing and a try bonus point there, but another close game. Then the game at the top, the 2 teams of perfect record. Rotherham 27, Rosslyn Park 26. So 1 point in it. Again, both teams getting 4 tries. So Rosslyn will have a losing bonus point and a try bonus point. Next one, Sale 43, Bishop Stortford 12. So Sale are just quietly going about their business. I've not mentioned them, but I have mentioned Bishop Stortford, saying I thought they would be like a strong team, a big banana skin, and that will potentially be one of the top teams. Done a bit of research into them, and they have got a long injury list there, so it looks like they're really struggling, which will make them kind of more dangerous later on in the season, forcing those top teams when they go to play there. Then the last fixture here, Sedgley Park 52, Leicester Lions 29. So again, another team there, Sedgley Park, quietly going about the business, which I've not mentioned. But yeah, 8 tries from them at the weekend against, as Albion found out a few weeks ago, against the Leicester Lions team, who are strong. So looking at that, how does that affect the league table? So we've only got one team now with a perfect record, and that is Rotherham on 30 points. So 6 games, 6 try bonus points win. Then you've got on 27 points, you've got Rosslyn Park, Blackheath in 3rd place on 26, and then the mighty Plymouth Albion 4th place on 25. Rams still going about the business on 24. Then you've got Sale on 23, Sedgley Park on 19. Then you've got Tonbridge on 16. Then there's a big gap there that goes all the way down to 8 points. You got Clifton then on 8 points, Bishop Stortford on 8 points, Dings on 8 points. Then the bottom 3, they're the 3 relegation places. You got Birmingham Moseley on 7 points, Leeds Tykes on 4 points, and then last place on 2 points, Leicester Lions, the only team without a victory, which I'm surprised about because they put a really strong performance again at Plymouth Albion. But yeah, looking really, really close, and it's really starting to look interesting at the table now. But actually seeing as well how important those bonus points are, even if you get the losing ones. And Albion not getting anything away at Rosslyn Park is kind of cost them a little bit the league table at the moment, but hopefully doesn't come back to really sort of bite them later on in the season. Next week's fixtures, we've got Birmingham Moseley at home to Blackheath. Bishop Stortford are at home to Leeds Tykes. So that's an interesting one. Leeds or fancy maybe against, I don't know if Bishop Stortford's still got a long injury list there. Clifton at home to Rams. Dings are home to Rotherham. Leicester Lions are home to Sale. Rosslyn Park, Sedgley Park. And then probably the most interesting one will be featuring us, and that'll be Tonbridge versus Plymouth Albion. So Tonbridge been very hot and cold, and Plymouth Albion. There's no escaping with Plymouth Albion. Like we've had 6 games, we've had 5 victories and 1 loss. When you look at that league table I just mentioned beforehand, bottom team Leicester we've played and beat. Leeds Tykes, second bottom we've played and beaten. Birmingham Moseley, 3rd bottom, we haven't played them yet. But then we've got Dings, Bishop Stortford and Clifton. We've played all those teams and we've beaten them. The one team that we've lost to is Rosslyn Park in 2nd place. So we've got an absolutely massive month. Well, actually, from now until Christmas, we're going to be playing the likes of Rotherham, Blackheath, Rams, Sale, Sedgley Park, and then our next fixture, Tonbridge, who have been really hot and cold, but yeah, really, really interesting sort of month ahead. So we have Tonbridge away next. Then we've got the 7:45 under the floodlights kickoff at home to Birmingham Moseley. Then we've got 2 back-to-back away fixtures to the Rams and Blackheath. Not too sure which order, might have that the wrong way round. But the next 4 fixtures, I'd go as far as say are possibly season-defining for Plymouth Albion. One thing to note, whilst talking about fixtures, listening to Ryan Lamb's comments at before the game at the weekend, I couldn't help but pick up almost a sense of frustration in his voice. I don't know if I'm looking too much into this, but I thought it was really interesting to hear that Plymouth Albion, before that Roston Park game, travelled up the morning of. I know the Leeds game, they stayed up overnight. I know the Bishop Stortford one, they stayed up overnight. I was surprised to hear that Roston Park, they didn't choose to do that. Why is that? I've got no idea. You can only assume in this situation this all boils down to money. And yeah, like, it's easy for me as a fan or any fan to sort of sit here and say, put your money, pay the money, do this, do that. However, I think Roston Park away was always seen at that point as the biggest game of the season so far. And against a top team on a 5G, 4G, 3G, whatever G pitch it is, it's always a tricky game. Really surprised that they didn't choose to have the accommodation the night before, to give the guys the best chance possible. There could be some other reasons for it that I'm totally unaware of, but I was really surprised to hear that. Almost disappointed, actually, because I don't feel that's going to get them best prepared for such a tough game. And Plymouth Albion didn't get to try burst point, they didn't get a losing burst point, and they conceded in the first 2 minutes of that game. And I can't just help but think, by the end of the season, will that be costly? Despite Roston Park losing to Rotherham this weekend, they picked up 2 losing bonus points. And actually, Roston Park will have Rotherham down their place. And if they beat them and they don't get any sort of bonus points, on aggregate over the 2 fixtures, they're doing better. So right now, Plymouth Albion have got to have Roston Park come to their place at some stage, and they're going to have to get a bonus point win and give them nothing for it to level out. And that would be a tough ask. So really intrigued to see, what is the thought process? Are there a certain number of games? So I'm interested to find out more. Fans news. So looking at the socials, looking at fans' comments, and also comments that I've received. So let's take a look. Let's have a dive in here. First comment. I did see a lot of Argyle shirts when walking around the ground today. So yeah, huge crowds, 1,881. But yeah, what's that about? It was really good to see Plymouth Argyle promote that Albion were at home, by the way, because Argyle weren't playing. So it's really good to see that. It's taken long enough, might I quite add. But yeah, what's that about? Turn up in the Argyle shirts. We need people buying the Albion shirts. And actually, you're looking, for those who are watching the videos here, I'm absolutely addicted. Get yourselves some vintage. Look at some of the retro ones. I can't get enough of just buying absolute retro Albion shirts. But again, I think I mentioned in the past, thinking about money within the club, I'm aware that Roston Park, I think I've heard they get most of their money because they are by a busy road within London, and they just have a digital advertising board in there. That's where they get their money, and then all the sponsorships, all the members they have as well. On top of that, again, when I went to Bishop Stortford, the amount of members there in Blazers was absolutely, like, I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, if we want money to come to the club, people can go. We've got 1,800. If we have people that aren't really sort of buying the shirts, in the background here, you can see Nirvana. If we want people to sponsor and bring money in, we've got to get people buying the kits. Because if you sell a lot of kits, a lot of sponsors want to have their names on the kits. That sort of goes around. People like me do a podcast, have in the background, you see the sponsor. That's how you get people involved in it. And actually, the kits are really good. So, yeah, drop the Argyle shirts, lads. Get your Albion shirts on. That's what we want to be seeing. Funny enough, a couple of weekends ago, did my weekly shop on a Sunday, and just saw loads of people in Argyle shirts, even though they'd been losing loads of games. I thought, to this morning, when I went and did my shop, I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna put an Albion shirt on, spreading the joy. And then I was in Sainsbury's, and I was like, oh, that person looks familiar. And it was Harry Wilson. And I thought, oh, I was actually kind of embarrassed. I bumped into an Albion player. He seen me in my Albion shirt. He must think, what a loser that guy is going around with his Albion shirt on Sunday. Leave the Argyle shirts for Argyle, or when you're out playing football. Next comment. Give Scrummy Paul the keys to the city. So what's this about? So this was actually huge news that on Friday evening, BBC Spotlight, they mentioned Plymouth Albion's fixture. So after this campaigning and this sort of rant I've had on here, they mentioned it. When I say mention, they were talking about extra chiefs and the signing of Ikitau. Huge, oh, what a sign, by the way. Ikitau of extra chiefs. And they put the fixtures up, just a flash, and Albion featured on it. But it said Dings versus Albion. So I'm really worried that a lot of Albion fans made the long trip up to Bristol to watch them. So we just need, it's great that they've mentioned it. They didn't actually say it aloud, but it popped up on the screen. I will take that. That's all they need to be doing at the bare minimum, is actually just acknowledging that we exist. However, could they acknowledge when we're at home? And yet stop saying we're away at Dings when we're at home. Come on, get the small details right. Show that you care a little bit more. But yeah, thanks for the guys who supported the petition. Thanks, for listeners getting involved in this. But we as fans have done that. We have gone, do you know what? We want this on the national news. Well, national. We want this on the local news. 300,000 or plus people watch this. We should be telling people that Plymouth Albion are home. Or playing games even. I'll be watching really closely Monday, actually, to see, do they mention the results? Or will they feature it on the league table? It's progress. Onwards and upwards. Next comment. First time for a long while to see Albion. Great win, but the score does not reflect how well Dings played, especially in the first half. I met friends I haven't seen in ages, all on the top day out. And it's really nice. Plymouth Albion actually commented saying, hope to see you again. Isn't this what it's all about? Isn't this what it's all about? Getting down the rugby, having a great day out, watching some fantastic rugby. Yeah, get your friends down there. 1,800 is great. Well, almost 1,900. But keep coming, keep coming. This club's got so much potential. But it's a great day out. A great day out. It's got to be a two-way thing, hasn't it? I've moaned about the lack of passes and this and that. But we've got to get down there. We're not entitled to a rugby club just to be in the championship. We've got to get them there as supporters. Got to support the club. But it's great. Get your mates down there. It's great to hear from this person that's had that. Another comment. So Ben Moore got the Nuffield Health man of the match again. I don't know if Nuffield Health really know if any other players exist. Saying that, don't want to take it away from Ben Moore. He's a great player and he's really consistently really good for us and just takes the ball all the time. And he's great. But I think out of 6 games, they get a man match 4 times, I think, maybe 3. So it's come on, mix up a little bit. But in the comments, couldn't notice a well done Penny Mower, and that was by Kenny Fizzelow. Plymouth Albion legend. Who remembers that guy? Tonga International back in the good old days. Kenny Fizzelow, my boy, what a legend he was. That really brought a massive smile to my face seeing that one. And on top of that, same sort of man of the match thing, Joel Broadhurst has said, "Do Nuffield do haircuts?" I'm poking a bit of fun at Ben Mo's hair. I'm in no position to comment on that, quite frankly. Another comment. What an absolutely brilliant day out. Touching 2,000 crowd makes it even better. Yes, been through that. Fantastic. Let's get it to 2,000. So next home game is the 7:45 in the evening game. I was in for it. How big a crowd can we potentially get for that? Under the floodlights at Albion. And probably going to win. I hate to get cocky. Probably going to win against a team struggling at the bottom of the league. But cannot wait. Get people down. And there's encouraging fans suggest. Will people get in fans suggest? I will be. Undecided what it's going to be yet. But yeah, looking forward to that. Harry Legg, who I've much discussed this episode so far, on a video I put of Frankie Dart taking a conversion. How is he so good? We want to hear from Frankie Dart on the pod. I do too. I'll be completely honest. The situation I'm in right now is I really want to sort of get more people involved and interview people. I'd really like to at some point talk to players. But I think I've said it once today, I don't know what I'm doing. I interviewed my mate last week in a pub and the sound quality was absolutely atrocious. I think it was just about bearable. Just about bearable. But I want to get in a situation where I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to waste those opportunities if they do appear. but would love to speak to some players in the future. And actually, seeing names like Kenny Fizzlehow, would love to speak to some legends. It's all in the pipeline, hopefully. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Another comment. Good to see Albion on the up again. I played for Dartmouth with Malcolm Shillerbeer and Johnny Putt many years ago. I thought, what on earth is that about? That's really random. Did a bit of research, and Malcolm Shillerbeer and Johnny Putt were players for Albion in the 1970s. On the Albion website, they do these Fergie throwbacks or something like that, and they did appear. So a couple of Albion legends there, way beyond my time. But yeah, glad to see you enjoying the pod or listen to it or seeing me on the socials. So all happy and all good there. That is it. That is Albion fans news. All things Scrummy Paul then. So not really too much to talk about. I've not been very well. I'm still feeling a little bit croaky right now. However, the big thing this week really was, actually much to my delight, as I've mentioned already, was to see Plymouth Albion getting mentioned on Spotlight. I mentioned a few sort of radio shows as well popped up. I completely forgot to listen to them, but I think there's such a good buzz around the place somewhere, and it's amazing. And I want to thank you, the listeners who have sort of signed that petition, or actually just sort of watched the videos and getting involved or commented on things, because there's a lot of frustration there from people wanting to see more of Albion get mentioned. And actually, it was really good to say. I was talking to some people today saying about how good actually one Plymouth's and actually the Herald now are featuring Albion twice, and how much more positive that all is. I think the club's got a real lot of fantastic potential. And we just need the local backing from it all. It was great to see is in hospitality as well, was absolutely packed, and that was all local businesses within construction there the other day. But so just really, really happy with all that. But I was really chuffed a bit to see Plymouth Albion get mentioned, even though it was just that sort of short glimpse. And long may that continue. But just really, really happy with that. And actually, I posted a video of it on the socials, and people's response to it as well was really, really positive, and people were delighted to see that, despite them getting a fixture the wrong way around. And yeah, mention the comment as well. Give Scrummy Paul the keys to the city. Not about me. This is all about the fans. This is all about Plymouth Albion Rugby Club, and we want to see it back where it belongs, and that's above National One. But if you want to refer to me as like the People's Prince, I'll leave that down to you guys. So hopefully we can get a bit of footage at some point in the future. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a bit of footage on the local news. I bought my away kit not long back, and I actually forgot my vice president's membership. It's like a little bit of card you get given, and I left it at home. So when I bought it, you get a discount, refreshments at the game, and also the shirts and stuff in the shop. So I wanted to buy my shirt, and I said, "Oh, I'm a vice president. I've got my card here." On like my digital card, but I don't actually have the physical card, which I have to show. And he was like, "Oh, lots of people are trying this on, So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to name drop. I'm going to name drop to see if I can do it. So I think I obviously didn't say these out, but I was along the lines of like, mate, do you know who I am? Like, do you know who I am? Mate, I'm Scrummy Paul. I do the fans podcasts. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm Scrummy Paul. I am a vice president. But I just don't have the cards. But I do the fans podcast. He's like, what are you on about, mate? I was like, mate, just give me the discount. So yeah, that was embarrassing, and also like a bit big-headed of me. So if you don't roll the dice every once in a while, you're just never going to know, are you? So that was a massive sort of smack back down into reality. So to finish off this episode, I'm not joined by Livy this time round with a rugby novice story. However, it got me thinking. So going on this journey of being sort of Scrummy Paul, I've had to have many conversations with Livy to sort of explain rugby. And one of the many things I was talking different positions, and she's asked about different shapes and sizes and how they feature in the game of rugby. And when I was trying to do that, I referred to speaking along her language, really, and that was about positions as chocolate bars. For example, I was mentioned that a Yorkie would be like a prop, big strong chocolate bar, and a Toblerone, like a big bulky chocolate bar that's sizable as well, could be like a number 8. And it's got me thinking. And I'm not going to do this the whole team right now, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to think, maybe, because those who listen to the show listen sort of weekly now. I've got a little fan base that sort of listens to this, and I'm going to give you a week to think about, and actually send me your team if you think about it, and I'm going to discuss this with Livy next week, is your rugby team based on chocolate bars. So as I sort of said, like a Yorkie could be a prop because it's a strong chocolate bar, or you know, you could have a curly whirly in second row because tall as such. I don't know, but I'm gonna have a proper sit down and think about this. I'm gonna ask you as listeners as well to do the same thing. So think about your 1 to 15 of chocolate bars. And that's it for this week's episode. I've managed to make it through, despite having a bit of a croaky voice. Thank you again for all your support, guys, especially with actually getting Albion back on Spotlight. I'm hoping to get a bit of merchandise out pretty soon. Got many sort of ideas in the pipeline, so hopefully more of that comes pretty soon. As I sort of said at the start, spread the word of this, share it on the socials, share the episodes, give 5-star reviews as well on Spotify and on Apple, because if people see that, they're going to want to actually listen to it. So again, thanks for your support, guys. Take care and keep it Albi.